You know what a Sonic story is that I do like a lot, but we've barely talked about on this show yet? Sonic and the Black Knight. Or, as I like to call it, the Sonic version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
It's not that wacky, but sure.
I admit, I didn't care for it at the beginning. I came at a bad time, I suppose. Another gimmicky Sonic game, and the story seems to resemble Sonic and the Secret Rings too much. Yet another Elise kind of human girl with pointy ears asking Sonic for help.
Yeah, too soon.
Of course, Black Knight did that on purpose to make the later plot twist where she's evil much more powerful. It's deliberately using our memories and familiarity with Elise and Shara to immediately create a fake context for Merlina. Anyway, yeah, Sonic and the Black Knight. People like to mock the fact Sonic has a sword. Again, bad timing after Shadow with the guns, but still. You know, as much as we hate people making jokes about Sonic in a car, and the many arguments we can come up with why Sonic would want to drive in a car, I can at least agree that there's a little logical fallacy with Sonic in a car, as indeed the car would be slower than Sonic running.
Of course, there's more reasons to be driving a car than just being fast.
Yeah, but you know, I can at least see the point why people would find it baffling. Sonic with a sword, on the other hand, has no such fallacy. The sword doesn't contradict Sonic at all. It's an enhancement of Sonic's skills. He already has the quills and the speed, the sword increasing his range and gives him more options to use his skills even more efficiently. Like, if Sonic does that spin attack with a sword, the sword extends his reach, making his spin attack even more powerful. Sonic with a sword makes sense.
Right, it's Sonic going with the rules of its universe. He's a knight's role, so he becomes a knight. It's what makes Sonic and the Black Knight so completely different than, say, Sonic Colors. You know, where outside of one roller coaster world, its theme park setting is mostly used as fake background elements or an excuse to throw random shapes in the air. It's very pretty looking, but not really a theme park.
Right, but Black Knight takes its theme and runs with it. I say knights, and what do you think about? Dragons? Bam! Dragons! There's castle sieges, rescuing peasants from castle dungeons, mystical quests, magical forests, epic sword fights, even complete medieval warcrafts with giant tanks being pulled by trolls. Straight out of some Lord of the Rings movie. Now this is a game using its setting to the fullest.
I like how casual it is about some elements. Sonic's making a joke about how bored he is, and Merlina immediately throws a drag at him in a freaking tutorial level. I like that energy. It's good to see the story and gameplay constantly having big payoffs. So wonderful to see that after the constant plot evaporation of recent Sonic games.
So you like the game too, huh?
Of course, it's the craziness and shameless embracing of universe are one of my Sonic games. Not giggling nervously about being silly. Oh, an ice cream beam in the theme park made by Eggman? That's so weird. None of that. Just bam! Dragons surfing in lava, sword fights during an earthquake, exploding castles. It embraces its world. And I just love the idea that you can just open a book like this and you immediately sucked into it.
Well, okay then.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't know if Sonic sucked in a book. He was just summoned by Merlina.
Yeah, not to mention it's implied he might be lying about this story to Amy.
I love how Sonic's telling this story to Amy, yet he keeps the part where he's freaked out about seeing Amy in the story. Nothing like telling a girl you freak out by seeing her during your date.
In games like this, I always wonder if Sonic literally tells everything of the game to Amy, like every single bit of gameplay. Well, Amy, then I slash this one enemy, then I slash another, then I run a bit, then I slash another enemy, then I jump, then I slash another enemy, and so on for 4 hours. But whatever, yeah, Sonic and the Black Knight, awesome story.
But you complained about the opening sequence in an earlier Dissected.
Ah, right, the Sonic is overpowered, alright. Okay, here's the thing. First of all, I still agree with what I said back then. Sonic is way overpowered against King Arthur here. However, it's not really Sonic himself I have that much of a problem with. Sonic's just about right in this game. It's just that Arthur could have used a couple more villain points. Now it's like watching Jesus Chuck Norris square off against Mr. Bean. Sonic knocks all the enemies out with no sweat while Arthur just stands there. I'm supposed to take Merlina's word for it that Sonic is in danger, although Arthur just stands there. And then we do get a boss fight against him extremely early, so it's still a tutorial boss fight and I can kick his ass with ease. Yet Arthur acts like it's a victory for him. And then the fact that Arthur is constantly insulting Sonic for running away, even though he is the one who's constantly running away. It all makes Arthur into a dumb clown, and I can't take him serious as a villain.
Well, his second boss fight is pretty tough.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later when we discuss gameplay.
Fortunately, Arthur isn't really the main villain. Merlina is, and Merlina's awesome. Look at her eyes. She looks demonic there. For someone deliberately designed to remind us of Elise and Shara, she completely shatters your expectations. And I think it'd be more awesome if it turns out her actual name is Morgana, or Morgan Le Fay, who was a villain in the Arthurian legends.
I'm sure they didn't want to get too close to the original Knights of the Round Table legend, before they had to deal with Shadow cheating on Arthur's wife and Amy being decapitated over the stolen sword. Also, I suppose I should mention in Secret Rings, Shara was also a villain, so the twist is extremely unique.
Right, but a sympathetic villain, more tragically forced into a bad situation than all-out demonic. But besides that, look at the introduction scene of her as a villain and compare it with Eraser Jin. So in Secret Rings, the big epic cutscene before the final castle is Sonic being badass and storming the castle while Eraser Jin just sits on his throne bored, and then just barely remembers to pose before the cutscene ends. So Sonic is our epic hero, while Eraser Jin is pretty lame, not doing anything until the end.
Well, not directly. It's mostly the consequence of his actions that fuel the cutscene. Not to mention he doesn't have any plot reasons to engage Sonic earlier because Sonic's bringing him the rings. But yeah, I see your point. There's a big "the climax is coming" empowerment cutscene. Just watching him sit around on a chair is not very exciting.
Now, compare that with the introduction scene of Merlina as a villain that's a parallel to that scene. Merlina does a badass magic move that causes the castle to collapse. Sonic and friends dash through the halls, dodging falling rocks and slashing their way through walls. It's a reverse setup from Secret Rings. Sonic running away from the villain instead of towards him, making the villain more proactive. But because Sonic looks so awesome and does cool things while escaping, Sonic's still presented as an awesome hero, but because he's doing awesome things because of what the villain caused, this gives Merlina some additional badass points too. So, everyone's awesome here.
Right. Sonic is a fascinating character in how audience reacts to him. More than merely a character, a lot of people take him as an inspiration, a real audience surrogate. Because the market is overwhelmed by white, macho, smart adult man heroes, Sonic is one of the go-to inspirational heroes for people who don't feel connected to white man heroes. And Sonic being a rebel makes him relatable to people who feel a bit out of the social loop. So fans usually fight over 3 flavors of Sonic. Either to be an inspiration to be a hero, like in the more serious adventure games. Even though he's a weird hedgehog thing and dealing with crazy people, it's still a hero, still doing the right thing, inspiration to be strong. Then there's the people who consider him an inspiration source to be a rebel, self asshole. I'm an outcast, I'm proud of it, and I don't care about the world, I'm doing what I want. Being a hero is boring, I want to screw around and not give a damn. And then there's the third flavor, one that's preferred by Sonic fans who don't feel like outcasts and consider the series just a comical B-action movie. The fact that a wacky, talking hedgehog does the same things as a typical manly Hollywood hero would do, that even more over the top makes it more awesome, an invitation to have fun with action tropes. This one's right in the middle, and the one I'm mostly for. The advantage of this Sonic is that it uses both the inspirational hero and the inspirational rebel elements of the other 2 flavors. He's an ass and does whatever the heck he wants, but as soon as the orphanage is in danger and bad corporation is kicking puppies, his antisocial behavior becomes more focused. More on giving empowerment and a flavor to his heroism. One-liners and playful ways to fight back. Like a good Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He's a pure-hearted hero, yet willing to break the rules and ignore protocols. If it gets him a giant machine gun-equipped airplane to blow the villains up with. Black Knight Sonic is this Sonic. Not nice bland Hero 6 Sonic. Not detached, I don't care about anything asshole Pontac Sonic. This is B-movie Arnold Schwarzenegger Sonic, and I love it. Playful and cocky, yet keeping his eyes on the prize and focusing his rebellious attitude on justice.
And then the music. Heavy metal, return of old themes, orchestral marches, even a rock ballad. Excellent!
Marty Freeman from Megadeth doing the guitar work for one of the songs.
Huh?
I just want to point that out.
Okay, thanks for turning this show into a trivia parade. But right, tons of energy and variation in the soundtrack. Ah, those Spanish guitars and Blaze theme.
I still can't believe that the folks at Sonic Boom neglected to have any big themes. For all their research, why didn't they notice music is such an important part of Sonic? Sonic Boom doesn't have a theme song at all. At least I don't recognise any melody in the noise.
You're referring to the TV show opening, because the games had a serviceable adventure tune, and the 3DS games has 2 amazing tracks. Richard Jacques is returning, and fortunately in a much better shape than he was with Chronicles. Anyway, let's not talk about music. It's very depending on personal taste, and I can't really talk in depth about it, and just summing up personal opinions is boring. Anyway, yeah, the music definitely energizes the experience. Right, so, environments. It seems to have the general art style of Unleashed, the Wii version.
The levels only have 1 or 2 dominating colours too.
It's weird, for as much as the early screenshots of Sonic Boom on the Wii U bored me, I'm strangely okay with Black Knight's environments, even though they're also kinda toned down. It helps there's a splash of blue or purple mixed into the grey colors that makes it more lively. I don't know. Also, I have to say I grew accustomed to Sonic Boom's color palette. The Rocky Mountains and the Future stage are alright, but focusing on the sections I found boring,
I suppose it helps that the dominating colours Black Knight uses are at least really bright, like the red in the volcano levels. Sonic Boom's dominating colours are much more washed out.
I don't know, it's conflicting me. Boom is usually using its bright colors more sparingly, is more careful with it. I give up, I don't know. All I know is that I like the graphics here. Despite having dull environments, especially the foggy lake it starts at, Black Knight has a nice use of colors, especially for a game taking place in rainy, foggy medieval England.
And also cool, Knuckles, Shadow and Blaze are playable. Optional playable, you can choose to be them or not. Exactly what we want in Sonic games, right? Pure Sonic for the purist, but the extra option to be Knuckles or someone.
Right, playable in the best way possible. Optional and being on par with Sonic with minor adjustments, rather than forced puzzle and gimmick element. Right on! So far, everything is great about Sonic and the Black Knight, except one thing, the elephant in the room. Gameplay. Sonic Black Knight seems to be a complete reversal of Sonic Colors. Colors has solid gameplay, feels very polished, but has none of the Sonic attitude. It feels like a giant farce. Sonic and Black Knight got the attitude and the energy, nailed down to a T, but it has messy and unfocused gameplay. It's almost perfect, they're yin and yang. Nintendo Sonic versus Sega Sonic.
It's an improvement over Secret Rings at least. Now only the sword is controlled with the Wiimote. Sonic is controlled by regular buttons.
That really helps. Nonetheless, I have 3 problems with the gameplay. One is a minor one, but when you play for the first time, the game has you both use the Wiimote to swing the sword, but also to steer Sonic. So when you play for the first time, it seems you have barely control over Sonic as he stumbles from left to right like a drunken idiot. It took me a while to realize it's my Wiimote pointing at the screen that caused it. So every time I swing the sword, I'm also controlling Sonic while I'm unaware of it. Fortunately, you can turn the option off, but I'm confused why it's there to begin with. The second problem is that it does the same thing as Sonic Unleashed, in that it loves to play mind tricks with you. Like the Dragon's Lair stage first introduced you to a lightning dragon as a platform that's temporarily. If you stand still and fight enemies on top of it, the dragon will move and you fall to your death, so you have to hurry up. Then it's immediately followed up by a second dragon that actually waits for you. But now you get killed if you ignore the enemies who will knock you off. So it teaches you to ignore enemies and focus on speed, only to immediately switch rules.
Another thing I noticed with the second King Arthur battle, it has this thing where Arthur holds his sword, it glows red and then it glows yellow and then Arthur hits you. So basically the red glow is a warning, since it takes about a second before Sonic reacts to you swinging the Wiimote. You usually have to swing as soon as you see the sword is red, as you don't have enough time to react when it's yellow. However, later Arthur becomes slower, and hitting him when his sword is red will get you hurt. You have to wait until it's yellow. So again, it's creating difficulty not by being a challenging game, but by teaching you gameplay rules and then suddenly changing it up.
Yeah, and that's why I never take Arthur serious, even when he's a much more difficult boss fight later. He's only hard because of this mind trickery and not because of his actual skill, so this guy really remains a clown to me.
Ah well, at least Merlina's still a better villain.
But the weirdest thing that bothers me about the gameplay is really subtle and inconsequential, yet it frustrated my mind the most and got me killed a few times. So this game is on rails. Usually there's 2 kinds of rails game. Either you can't move at all, you're just a floating gun target or something. Or you are in full control, but the level is just extremely limited, like a Crash Bandicoot game or Sonic Unleashed. You're stuck on one pathway, but in that pathway you're in complete control. Sonic and Black Knight, on the other hand, is a weird combination between the two. You think it works like Unleashed or Crash, that you're running in a pathway, but it's half automated. Like in Unleashed or Crash, you can see your path. This is the ground. These are the walls. This is my path. But with Black Knight, it's kinda random. Even though you see a huge open area, you're stuck on an invisible pathway. Large portions of what looks like your playfield and even items you could collect are actually behind this phantom wall. Play the game like a badass and you won't notice, but especially when you're desperate for rings or not fully leveled up yet, or playing a slow character, this weird visual feedback confusing really bothers my head and makes me think I'm not quite in control of the game. It's weird and subtle and nitpicky, I guess, but it just makes the game feel weird to me. Especially when the game goes side-scrolling for short sections and the controls lock up even more. Fortunately, this game really is a direct parallel to Colors, and the side-scrolling sections are as rare as 3D is in Colors.
Shame. Game would have been much more fun if you had more control. Oh well, at least swinging the sword is fun. Yeah! Had! Yeah!
Oh! Yeah, so Black Knight's level design is like Unleashed, except with shorter stages, so it's less punishing.
And that music! This game's so metal! Yeah!
Sure is, though not sure if we're qualified in stating it if it's cool or not. We're both fat, lame nerds.
Hey yo, what up people, I'm DJ Game Freak the Iguana, and I'm about to school y'all on Sonic and the Black Knight. With Black Knight, it's all about the tone and coolness factor.
Whoa! Hello, Boston's twins. I suppose he is qualified in making judgment calls on coolness.
Can any of those bloody doctors help us, instead of standing there yapping?
It ain't as forced or melodramatic as some would say other games were. It's just an exciting epic storyline, just the way any proper video game should be like. Even and especially for kids, you don't want the stories that play it safe. You want one that grabs you. This one's doing what's needed to hook you right in. Now the coolness factor. While the balanced tone of the story adds to that, there are the details. High-speed sword fighting if you ain't standing still. Slaying several dragons. Getting into fights with Knights of the Round Table. Played by cool Sonic characters, of course. It's missing SPO though, but whatever. And this badass version of King Arthur with good theme music playing. And added to that, the OST was pretty decent at most stages, and you surfed on lava in one level, and some other shit that I can't recall right now, but you get the gist of it. The game's got a nice coolness factor to it. No melodrama, just good old-fashioned badass stuff, and that, boys and girls, is what makes this the standard of the 90s edgy.
Well, seems the random ninja jumping through our hospital window agrees.
How did they know exactly what we're dreaming about?
One more thing too, I know a lot of people dislike Sonic and Co using swords because you know there's some unwritten rule out there that's forbidding them from using weapons, but you know what, there's nothing wrong with it in itself. Hell, Sonic actually looks more badass with it on the cover, making you question if you would start something with him, or better yet, how much ass you could kick with him. There's really nothing about it to actually offend the general audience, it's how it's implemented, and I would know this, I make my own homebrew games, you feel me? That's pretty much it, so I'm out. Get well soon, motherfuckers.
Thanks, Random Ninja. Well, we're jumping from topic to topic. One problem with the story I have, that's the philosophical stuff with Melina and Sonic at the end. Sonic should never be in any philosophical debates. He makes them awkward.
What do you mean? Melina wants to freeze the entire world because she wants to prevent the bad ending of the King Arthur saga.
Pretty ballsy that the game acknowledges the darker elements of the King Arthur tale, Arthur being killed by his own son and such.
Too bad we don't see Shadow steal Arthur's wife, or the Lady of the Lake Amy getting decapitated like in the tales, or Arthur sleeping with his half-sister.
Yeah, wonderful.
Anyway, Melina wants to freeze the world to prevent pain and live forever, and Sonic argues you should accept death and the world should flow naturally. Makes sense, right?
It would, but the problem is Sonic makes everything about himself. His arguments are constantly, it's time I become the villain, or no, the story won't end until I say so. So instead of arguing with Melina about whether living forever is good or bad, instead he makes it sound like he's just a small child who just wants the world to end horribly and everyone to die because he thinks that's cool. I mean, I technically am on Sonic's side on the philosophical debate. Events should happen as they are, but the way he phrases it is awkward. Sonic as a character just doesn't work if you make him talk to people with actual big statements to make. That's why Sonic Adventure 2 puts the philosophical heart of the story with Shadow and Amy, who work much better at that sort of thing. They are noble, social, have a sense of duty. They are Knuckles or Espio. They are the ones you put against these madness rants, not Sonic. Sonic is to inspire people or to give them energy. As almost all of Sonic's theme songs say, he's the wind. The wind doesn't direct you, the wind just blows in some direction. It's you who need to construct the right sail and manipulate the wind to bring you to the right direction. Same with Sonic, he energizes people, but he doesn't direct them. He's too simple-minded and self-obsessed. But now here he is debating with Melina, and he sounds very stupid.
Who wants a philosophical debate in a Sonic game anyway? I want a big epic sword fight!
Well, to be fair, they are having their philosophical debate during their big epic sword fight in space, so there.
Just as all philosophical debates should be. Socrates and Friedrich Nietzsche would have been much better philosophers if they wrote their books while fighting with demonic women in cyberspace. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah.
So, Sonic and the Black Knight. Takes some time to getting used to, but when you do, it's loads of fun.
And then I ran out of time editing before New Year. To be continued this weekend. For next time is Black Knight versus Secret Rings. And Happy New Year, I guess. Whatever.